So again, if we just want to scan what's in front of us and go ahead and begin putting it away, we go into this bin transfer. The first thing I want to bring your attention to is this put away off at the top. Whenever we are doing an internal bin transfer, so maybe from showroom bin to showroom bin, you want to make sure the put away is off. But if we are taking items from the dock, we just want to come down and hit F9 once. And hitting F9 toggles between put away on and put away off. Once I have put away on, all I need to do is scan the product that's in front of me. It will automatically default the dock and go, great. What's the quantity that you want to move? Maybe this product is too large for me to handle both of them at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm only going to move a quantity of 1. I enter in my quantity of 1. I walk over to the location I want to put the item away, and then I just go ahead and scan that bin location. Again, you'll notice at the bottom we do give you a reference of what the primary bin is. So I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what, I want to go ahead and put this into my primary bin. So I'll scan my primary. It's then going to go ahead, update, and tell me I've successfully transferred a quantity of 1 from the dock to my SH0402AA. Great. Now, I still have one other quantity. Maybe sometime later, I come across this product again in the dock, I scan it, it keeps a running tally. So now it goes, okay, you only have 1 left in the dock. Where do you want to put this to? Same thing. I walk over, I take that one, and maybe this time I'm going to put it into SH0202AA instead. I scan that location, it then goes ahead, feeds it to the system, and updates it. Right? Now, I have a couple more examples I'd like to go over, so I'm going to jump back into my bulk receiver, and same thing. I'm going to go ahead and hit F1 new. Every time that essentially you have a new PO you're working on, you should create a new receiver. So I'm going to come in, scan one of my other POs that I have, and once I do this, again, we have our order number, we have who our vendor is, which is Arlington Industries, our pieces, which is total quantities, our lines, which are unique products, and I'm just going to hit enter and begin receiving this in. So I'm going to scan the product that's right in front of me. And that's not the right product. Let's see what I have on my list. Okay, so if I try to scan a product that's not on the receiver, it's actually going to come back like I just showed you and say product not on receiver. So you can't actually receive anything that's not on the PO. So I'm just going to go ahead and again scan what I know I actually have. Now the one nice thing about our system is that each time you scan something, it increments by 1. But in addition to this, it also allows you to just scan the products in front of you, and it's able to maintain the correct one that's being incremented. So right now, I scan my 15672. It's telling me that I've scanned a quantity of 1 of 2. If I scan my 18941, great. It jumps to that product and goes, I have a quantity 1 of 2. Now if I come across another 15672 and I scan it, it jumps back and now increments this to 2 of 2. I can go ahead then and say I come across another BP nipple. I scan it, it then goes to 2. So depending on the quantities that you have, you may just want to scan what's in front of you, and the system will keep track of everything you're scanning in, despite the products you're jumping across. Another thing that I do want to mention is you'll see we have this F1 bin option at the bottom. If I want to do a direct put away, I do not want this to go to my dock when I do my F9 update. I can hit F1 bin and I can scan a bin location or enter one. If I do not know what other locations or what locations this product goes to, you'll notice that when I hit F1 for bins, we now have a new function option at the bottom that says list bins. If I hit F1, this will list any bin locations that the product currently has quantities in. The primary bin is marked with a P for reference, so I know that my 0402AA is my primary bin. and this AA on the bottom, this 0202 AA, is just the secondary bin. Great. Maybe I want to go ahead and receive it into the secondary. So I just select it from my list. Oh, just going to enter that in. And now when I back out of here and do my F9 update, my first product that I received into the dock is going to go into the dock. But my second product that I received into the SH0202AA is, upon updating, going to update that bin location and not go into the dock. The one thing that I do want to bring to your attention is that when you do a direct put away, you have to do the full quantity. You cannot say that I'm receiving in 6 and 3 are going to 0202 AA and 3 are going to 0404 AA. If I receive in 6, all 6 have to go to that direct put away bin location. Unless I want to do 2 different receivings for that product. So I'm just going to go ahead, hit F9 update, and now you'll see that when we go to our job list and we look at, let me refresh this real quick. We look at our bin transfer job, it will not have that product that I did a direct put away on. So you'll see that now I received in 2 products, but only 1 product needs me to bin transfer because the other one was directly put away. Great. Now, I'm going to go back into my bulk receiver, and I'm going to receive in another PO. So I'm going to do F1 new, and I'm going to go ahead and punch in this PO that came on my bill of lading. Oh. Okay, bear with me for just 1 second. All right, so I'm going to back out a second. It looks like one of the POs that I had done was recently completed by someone, so give me just 1 second to create a new one. Okay. So I'm going to my bulk receiver. I have this other PO that somebody else is now working on, not a problem. I'm going to hit F1 new and enter in the one I just created. When I go ahead and do that, it shows me what's on this current receiver. And again, we have our order number, we have our vendor, we have our total quantities, and our unique lines. So I'm going to go ahead and begin picking this. Now on this particular PO, we have a serialized product. When you have a serialized product, you will scan the product, and instead of seeing the quantity field that you're used to seeing so far, it's just going to ask you for the serial number. So I'm going to go ahead, scan in a serial, right? I'm going to do this 111-222-333-444. Just one I made up. If, for example, I just scan that one in and I go, oh no, that wasn't actually a serial number, it was a product UPC. Or it was a serial number for the wrong product, I scanned the unit next to it instead of the one I meant to scan. Not a problem. All you need to do is rescan it. So if I re-enter what I just recently scanned, the system goes, okay, do you want to remove this serial number? Well, in my case, it's not a real serial number. I scanned the unit that was next to it, or I scanned the barcode of the product. I made a mistake. So yes, I want to delete this. I go ahead, select yes, it brings me back to 0, and now I could go ahead and begin entering in my serials. So I'm just going to go ahead, make up a serial number. You'll see that now it says 1 of 2. I'll go ahead and create another one. Now it'll go to 2 of 2. And once I've done with my serialized product, I then do the same thing. I back out, I go to my PO, and then I do my F9 update. Once I've done my F9 update, I am not going to print my receiving ticket. This item is now in the dock. with the serial numbers that I've entered, and they are ready to be put away. One very nice thing in our system that we have is if I go to the job list and I go into my bin transfer job, when I do serialized products, and you'll see this in just a moment, the system's going to essentially go ahead, perfect. It's going to come in and it's going to ask me, do I want to move both units? If I say yes, it's actually going to move the product as well as the serial numbers associated to that product. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, sure, I want to move it to EQN wall 01. The system goes, great. Now it's moved both of those products as well as the serials that I had entered at the time of receiving. And they are now put away to that EQN wall 1. So that essentially wraps up purchase order receiving. Does anyone have any questions? No questions. I'll take the silence that there's no questions. All right. So let's move on. The next thing.
Yeah,
Yep. Go ahead.
I had. When you started receiving you were just kind of scanning the items. I noticed that once you're in, it doesn't actually show the PO you're scanning. It just shows a receiver, doesn't it? It's not really keeping you. It is on the same purchase order. It's not moving off if you've entered an item, right? Say we have multiple items on multiple purchase orders, and you start scanning items. Is it selecting the proper? It stays on that purchase order that you started with?
That's correct. And at any time, you can look at the list as well to see what you've already done. And remember, if say you had 8 of these 11320s, once you try to scan more than 4, it's going to tell you excess quantity. At that point, besides this list and everything else, that's an alarm for you because you only ordered 4 on this PO.
On that PO, yeah. And then on the F6, where it shows linked, F6 linked, and you can see the order. I was wondering if you could put in your notes, for us, that would be great if it showed not only the order and the customer, but location. Because in Champaign, we're serving 11 locations when we receive some of those. And if that link would help identify about what then to put that in on a sold too.
Well,
so
I guess my question is this. If we showed a location at that point, the only location we would really be able to show would be the primary location. Is that essentially what you're asking for, just to show the primary bin?
We're asking, location, meaning if it's a linked order, if it's linked to a customer, it's showing the customer sales order number, but it doesn't show which warehouse that goes to, the warehouse.
Well, so...
Warehouse. A8 or see, for Champaign, they'll receive a purchase order and it'll show a link and it may be for warehouse 10, not warehouse 1.
But then that sales order won't appear for picking in your warehouse. Because you got to remember that the sales orders are specific to the warehouse you're in.
So it'll just appear in a transfer one.
That's correct. So
yeah.
It's not going to appear for picking. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions about PO receiving? I'll give you guys a minute just to think on it. Okay. Doesn't sound like it. All right. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is go into stock transfer picking. And again, I want to bring your attention back to this order picking progress screen. And you'll notice that on here, on the very left side, we have this type. So far we've been doing sales orders. This will also list any transfers that are going to go ahead and go out of your warehouse and to where they're going. So in this case, I know I have one from Bloomington to Champaign. The other thing I want to bring your attention to is, do you see these 2 orders that have this -01 at the end of them? These orders are essentially spawned orders. When we had done that PO receiving, because it was linked to a sales order, it went ahead and automatically did a release. And because these 2 sales orders are for this warehouse, they are now in your job list, telling you to go pick them. So just small kind of little nifty features. So as you receive things in from a PO, if there are orders for your warehouse, it will kick out those orders and automatically add them to this order poll. And you can always tell if something is taken off of back order because these -01s represent a spawned back order, meaning you had previously picked an order, it might have gone out, and this is what remained or was on back order at that time. All right. Stock transfer picking. So the next thing I want to go over is stock transfer. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go over how to create a stock transfer. And this is very important because when I go to inventory, stock transfer, and stock transfer entry, and I hit new, the first thing that the system does is it brings me into this pick by field. We never, ever, ever, ever want to enter our initials into the pick by field. When I pick my stock transfer, whoever completes the pick on the RF scanner, it's actually going to go back and feed their credentials here and timestamp it. And I'll be showing you that in a second. If for any reason you type in your initials into the pick by, then when you hit the save button, you will ship confirm that entire stock transfer. So it will be ready for receiving, but it will not go to the gun because for all intents and purposes, you're telling the system you've already picked it. So please make sure that when you create stock transfers, this pick by is left blank. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly create one from Bloomington, and we'll say this is going to go to Champaign, and I'm going to put a serialized product on here. I'll say I want to put one of these on here, and I'll do one of my previous products, so we'll do this 15672. Because I have a serialized product, when I hit save, this is going to pop up and go, do you want to assign it a serial number? Similar to the pick by field, you should never, ever, ever assign it a serial number. If you assign this a serial number, then when the picker goes to pick this item, they will only be able to select that one serial number. It will not accept any other input. So go ahead and leave this blank. When the picker actually picks this on their gun, whatever serial number they enter is then going to feed back and update this stock transfer. So again, when you receive this prompt, hit OK. It's going to say incomplete data. Great. We haven't picked it yet. Of course it's incomplete. So now it's going to go ahead and feed this into my stock transfer job. And I'm going to go ahead and begin picking this in just a moment. Now, the one thing to know is that the stock transfer picking process is identical to the sales order picking process. It has the same menu options, features. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to do this 299 first. And just like we saw under order poll, we have our ship date if there's one entered, our method of delivery if we entered one, our pieces, which is total quantities, and then our lines, which are unique products. So I'm just going to hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and begin picking this. So I'm going to go ahead to my EQN wall 01. I'm going to scan my product, so 42886. And then, you know what? I'm actually going to use a serial number that's not suggested, so I'm just going to cheat and look one up real quick. So let's say that I found this 19072555728. Right? Nope. I tried to scan that out of the wrong bin. All right then. Let's try that again. Let's do 19903089306. All right. Once I scan a correct serial, it's going to go ahead, accept it, and then I just go ahead, I scan my next product. So scan my bin, scan my product, enter in my quantity. Once I'm done, it's going to go ahead and prompt me to print out my stock transfer. Because you're sending this to another location, you do want to select yes. Once you select yes in the Bloomington location, it's going to go ahead and print it to your counter printer, I believe. So I'm just going to say yes, and that's going to print that stock transfer. Once I'm done, I'm just going to hit escape, go back to my job list, and pick my next stock transfer. So I'm going to jump in here and go, okay, it's another serialized one. Now, Say, for example, I get to the serialized product, and just like sales order entry, sales order picking, if I don't have the product and I need to back order it for any reason, not a problem. I hit F3 for list, I pick my item, and just hit F4 to back order. The system's going to go, are you sure you want to set this to back order? Absolutely. So I'm going to say yes, it's going to back order that quantity, and then I'm just going to keep working off of my list. You'll notice that very similar to sales order picking, we have the F4 reverse in case I want to work in reverse order, because again, you can have multiple people working on a stock transfer. And then I also have my F7 next. Maybe I don't want to pick this product, I want to pick the next one, I could do F7 next. Maybe that was a mistake, I can hit F8 previous, go back to my previous line. If again, I want to see what other locations this product is available in besides this SH0402AA, I hit F1, and in this case I go, you know what? I don't want to pick it from my 0402AA. I'm going to pick it from 0202AA. I select this, I hit enter, I scan my bin location, I scan my product, I pick the two that I want, and then I move on to my next product. Same thing, scan my bin location, scan my product, and enter in my quantity. Once I've completed this, if there is anything that I back ordered during my stock transfer pick, it's going to go ahead and spawn a separate stock transfer with this -01, and it will move any back ordered items onto that transfer. So if I go into my system right now and I pull up 298, right? So I pull up my 298, let me just that, and I'm not going to print it this time. We take a look here, you'll see that we have one product that is completely zeroed out here, and now if we look at that -01 that it spawned, you'll see that that one line that I back ordered is now on that spawn. So technically my 98 is complete in regards to what I sent to the other warehouse, and my back ordered item is now on its own individual stock transfer. If I am never going to fulfill this, I can just go into the spawn and hit cancel spawn, and then it'll go ahead and remove it. Or I could go to edit and I could delete this if I want, and then it'll delete the stock transfer. And then that back ordered item is gone, we're never fulfilling that back order. It doesn't matter anymore.
And if it's linked to a sold order, it's just no, that breaks the link.
If it's linked to a sales order, I believe you would have to remove the link on the sales order side. I don't believe deleting it will actually remove the link. I would have to test that. Well, you know what? We can run through a quick example and see what happens. But I do believe that it has to be done on the sales order side. But let's take a peek. So I'm going to come in here.
The reason I asked, or said, if I talked to Michael about making it when we break a link, that it will send a task to the order writer, so the order writer knows the link's been broken or the store didn't have the product they asked to be transferred.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not sure if this does it, but I will test this right now. We'll just use it as an example and see what happens when we do that. So I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to order 2 of these, and I'm going to put one on back order. Oh, sorry about that. Put one on back order and say that I'm going to receive this via transfer from warehouse 01, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll say from warehouse 01. Quantity 1, right? Well, I lied. Let's change this real quick. Let's make this 2. No, I'm sorry, 1, so that way I can do the actual back order on there. And then quantity 2. Let me save this. Once I save this, so we have our stock transfer number. So if I were to go ahead and only ship confirm one of these out, And again, this is just for my example, so please don't ever enter in your pick my initials. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say I'm going to take 1 out of here. Hit OK. It then spawns my stock transfer for the other back order. And if I delete this guy, go back to my sales order. So there's one stock transfer, hasn't been received yet. Still shows to do. No, it doesn't look like it broke that link. Yeah, it doesn't look like the link was broken on that. So, yeah, so canceling, deleting, or removing the spawn doesn't break it, essentially. I could talk to Michael about that. We could do some more testing, if anything, just to see, I guess, how exactly you could remove that link once you have a stock transfer created. But, yeah, I would have to speak to Michael about that, because that's more on the informed side of things. Any other questions in regards to stock transfer picking? Okay. Let's go into stock transfer receiving. So the next thing is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go into my bulk receiver, and again, somebody else is working on a PO. That's dandy, great. I'm going to hit my F1 new, create my new receiver, and again, very similar to what I mentioned, I can either enter in the stock transfer or I can go ahead and enter in a product. So if I scan a product, it comes back and goes, great, I found a stock transfer that you should be receiving in that has this product. Excellent. So it tells me my stock transfer number, which is 296, tells me it's coming from Champagne. So I'm going to go, okay, not a problem. I hit enter. I'm going to go ahead and just begin receiving what I have in front of me. Again, this is identical to the purchase order receiving screen. So if I want to see what I should be receiving in, I can look at F3 list, look at everything that's due. You'll look and notice my received column is completely blank. And I'm just going to go ahead and start receiving this in. So I'm going to scan my first product. And again, if I want to do a direct put away, I can hit that F1 bin, type in a direct put away bin location. And then again, I can enter in my quantity. The one thing that I do want to bring to your attention before I enter in my quantity is whenever you are entering in quantities and not incrementing it by scans, the first scan will always count as a verification scan in the case of me entering in quantities. What that means is I scanned it, it says 1 of 2, but when I enter in my quantity, that first scan is therefore a verification. So I have to enter in a quantity of 2. This is not the case if I just scan through, because then it assumes that you are scanning and it is incrementing by 1. The system is keeping account. But if you are entering in a quantity again, you do need to realize that the first scan, like this 18941, is a verification scan. So again, I verified the product. Now I enter in my quantity of 4. Great. Move on to my next line. Scan my 42886. It goes great. What's my serial number? I don't actually remember the serial number. I'm not going to lie. So I'm just going to back out of there. And I'm going to go ahead and update this stock transfer. If I try to update a stock transfer and I did not receive in everything that was sent to me, it's going to come back and say receiver incomplete. Do I want to view a list of items that are outstanding? So I can hit F3, see what's still due. And right from here, if I'm okay with this, I can hit F9 save. There is one thing to be aware of with stock transfer receivings. If I do an update, an F9 update, before I have received in everything that was sent to me, anything that I have not received in when I do my F9 update will automatically be back ordered by the system. So I could go in and out of a receiver as many times as my heart desires on it. I could work on it, jump out of it, go to lunch, come back, jump back into it, keep working as many times as I want. But in regards to stock transfers, the instant I do my F9 update, if there is something I did not receive in that was sent to me, the system will back order it, and then you will not be able to receive it in until it has been reconfirmed. So I'm going to hit this F9 accept and post. It's going to go ahead and post it, and that one order that that one item that I had will now be back ordered. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, do another receiving. I'm going to jump into my bulk receiver, hit F1 new, enter in my stock transfer number, and then go ahead and begin again receiving it. So I'm going to cheat. I don't actually have the products in front of me, so I'm going to take a peek at my list. Come in here, scan my 15672, and again, I can enter in a quantity of 4, or like I do on my other product, I could do my 18941, and I can just scan it 4 times. Notice that each time I scan it, my quantity is going up by 1. So now we're at 3 of 4, now we're at 4 of 4. Once I'm done, I hit escape. I then go to my receiver, hit F9 update. It's now posted, and my items are available for me in the dock. Any orders or anything that were linked possibly to there, which I don't believe I had any, at this point would now relinquish and essentially add to your job list if it's related to your warehouse to essentially go ahead and pick those. Otherwise, they'll go ahead and create this job as well to go ahead and put these items away from my dock to whatever location I desire. And to do this, same process. I go into my bin transfer job list, I select my product, I state however many I want to put away. Maybe I want to put away 4. I then enter in the location I want to put it away to. By default, it will always suggest the primary. So I do 4, it then goes ahead and moves those 4. If again, I just want to scan what's in front of me, not a problem. I go to bin transfer, I scan my product. Oh, I didn't turn my put away on. So it's actually asking me what bin location I'm taking it from. So I'm going to hit escape, go back, make sure I turn on my put away. And then again, scan my 18941, automatically defaults to dock, say I'm going to take all 8, and I'm going to put these into EQN wall 01. Again, any location I scan, but it will always suggest the primary for you. Any questions about stock transfer receiving?
I have a question. Tim, Peoria.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so if you're receiving stock we're receiving our stock from Champagne, we don't receive every piece. Say we got 5 of one item and one gets misplaced in a different spot, somebody else put it, and I don't get that. You said it's going to put it into a back order, so it's going to order it again?
It's going to put it in a back order, so yes. Nope. So what's going to end up happening is if you do an F9 update and it back orders it, then that stock transfer will not complete itself. And in Champagne, yes, it will appear as if there's a quantity of 1 still due to you.
But which I can put it out on the transfer so we can actually go back and look and say, hey, I missed 1. We got to go find it. Where's it at?
Say that again? I'm sorry, I can hear you.
So it's going to automatically order another one instead of saying, oh, hey, we got this, it's still open, this transfer is still open because we missed 1 piece. We go back and find it.
Well, if you didn't receive it in, then technically it wasn't sent to you. That's what you're telling the system. So
if you receive all of them, never mind, I'm confused. Go on.
What?
I think that what he's saying. See, right now we have if Champagne sends the store
their stock shipment or whatever, their transfers. As they're receiving, sometimes they have a situation where they didn't get it all, or at least they didn't find it all initially, and before they turn it into, right now we have a thing where if they never find it or they go look for it, they can update everything that they didn't find and leave that alone, and then eventually it'll go into what we call a disputed transfer. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, before we disputed, if we did find it, I just didn't want it to back order another piece when we weren't sure if we actually got it yet.
Yeah, so see what he's saying now, because see, he's normally able to go ahead and update what he did, and then he could just leave that one in transit until because he may check other areas there. He says, okay, I got my shipment spread. Sometimes these guys will get in skid after skid or various things, and people are running back and grabbing things off skid. So I'm guessing that's probably what he's talking about. And then before he does a disputed, he will check a few other areas and say, oh, this didn't get scanned, or this got pushed over here, and then he finds it. And is that correct, kind of the scenario you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't really have a disputed stock transfer status. It's just going to back order it. If you do find it, you can always go in the system to stock transfer receiving, which is what I've done here. Pop in that stock transfer number, and then if you truly did receive it, you can always update it in the system. And then it won't, basically, it'll then complete the order, and at that point, you're not going to get another one sent to you. But if there's one that's misplaced and you don't, find it and you don't update it on at least the front end of the system here, then they have no way of ever knowing you found that unit. So in your case, what you would need to do then is you would have to find that unit if it has been updated, because again, those values aren't live and it doesn't back order anything until I hit F9 update. And if you're missing something when you do your F9 update, it's first going to tell you receiver incomplete, and it'll give you the option to view a list of the items that are missing. At that point, if you want, you can wait to update, essentially confirm what's going on, and then update it, because you may end up finding it, or you could choose to update it, find it later, and then go into that stock transfer on the front end of the system and say, I really do have that one.
Okay. All right.
So that's...
I just want to make sure it didn't just automatically start back ordering more stuff before we actually found it.
So let me do another one. I'll just do another one just so we can kind of make sure we're crystal clear on this. So... give me 1 second. And again, don't ever enter in your pick by initials. Don't ever do that.
Is there a list of those 5-digit numbers that you're using? Because up until about a month ago, I've never used those.
Is there a what? I'm sorry. A list, you said?
Yeah, like the 15672. I have only used that number like one time in 4 years, and that was like a month ago, and I didn't even know what those were.
So it gives you the description right here for them. You can also search for them by keyword. But these products, the reason why I picked them is because you had a large amount of them on hand in your current system. So that's why I'm using them as my examples.
That list or that item is the Eclipse ID number, and after we go live on DDI, we will be converting nightly. So you see that RP35 water panel, we'll be converting it to, it'll be like, there will be a 3-letter code to represent research products and a dash, and then you'll see RP35, and that'll replace that 15672. And we'll probably be loading in DDI. They have the ability to do a number change, so we'll convert the 15672 to a, say, for research products. So RU-RP35, and that way it'll categorize numbers will be something you recognize with maybe a 3-character in front of that number. And you won't have to search by that. You'll just search by still RP35 or whatever, and you're going to get, then you won't see these 5-digit codes after probably a month.
Okay.
All right, so I've gone ahead, I've created a stock transfer. I'm going to go ahead and now receive it in, right? So I come in here, I have my stock transfer, great. I go ahead and I start receiving in my product. Say I receive in 2 of the first product and I don't find any of the second product. First things first, if I try to do an F9 update, the system doesn't automatically update it. It comes back and tells you receiver incomplete. Do you want to view a list of the items you're short? In your case, you would, because you obviously want to know what they sent to you, but you haven't received yet. I can hit my F3 list and go, okay, so I'm missing 2 of the CLBP nibbles. At this point, I can just hit escape, go back to my receiver, and go find it. I haven't updated anything. It doesn't backorder anything yet. I can go, I can look for it, I can find it. Once I find it, I can go back into my receiver and state that I found that item. If, for example, you say, you know what, we really need this RP35 for a customer or whatnot, and you want to update it and you go, I'll find that other product later. Not a problem. You can always update it, accept and post this. Once it does that, say an hour, maybe 2 hours later, you find the item. You can then go into inventory stock transfer receiving, pop in that stock transfer, and then you could take it off of back order and receive it. That's what this quantity received column is. So you could come in here and say, you know what, I did find those 2. And then put in your initials, because it is important that we audit whoever states that they received it. So either one of the 2 situations can be used to rectify anything that is either A, you can't find, or B, you updated and now you found it. Did that make sense to you, sir?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you.
You're welcome. Perfect. Are there any other questions about stock transfer receiving? Okay. So at this point, we've done a general overview, we've done the picking, we've done the receiving, we've done our stock transfers. The last thing we're going to go into is essentially this cycle count option. We're not actually going to cover how to do physical inventories. I'm going to be covering that with Kathy and Gerald, yourself, a little bit in the future. So basically, our cycle count, the 2 options I'm going to look at are bin count and inventory adjustment. And these are a little bit unique, and I'll explain to you kind of how they work. The first one is the bin count. The bin count is unique because it does not update your on hand or hit your GL. It only updates your bin quantities. This is designed for, God forbid, your bins fall out of sync, you have malware, ransomware, whatever, your bins get messed up, your on hand's correct. So you don't want to really hit your GL with anything, but your bin quantities are off. You can use this to fix it. Another reason why this is used, if you do not trust everyone to make inventory adjustments, you can tell one of your employees or warehouse guys to basically go and count, say, a wall of bins. If they count that wall of bins and all of the products in them, and there is a discrepancy between what you have on hand and what their bin counts were, it's going to create a job in the job list under inventory adjustments. At this point, a manager or whoever is allowed to make adjustments will go in, look at these products, and actually count them and state the true adjustment that needs to be made. So that's essentially what this bin count is used for, right? The next thing we have here is this inventory adjustment. The way this works is if I jump in here, I have to state a product. So I'm going to use my 18941. By default, the system keeps a running tally. You'll see that we have a total of 10. On the bottom, we have this F1 bins. If I select my F1 bins, that tally right now is for any system-generated bin. And you should never, ever, ever, under any circumstance, need to touch or should adjust these bin locations. The X for out bin location is anything that has been scanned out and is waiting to be received by another warehouse. If you do an adjustment on this and set it to 0, then when they go to receive it in the other warehouse, you're going to have problems. The ship bin are products that you have ship confirmed that are in transit to a customer or are waiting to be billed and an invoice to be created for them. Once an invoice is created and the customer is billed, this ship bin automatically depletes itself. So again, there's no reason for you to ever touch the ship bin. The dock bin is anything that you have stated that you've received in but have not put away. Technically, this is one of those where you may be able to do adjustments, but you really shouldn't, because the system updates in real time. So if your dock says there's 2 and nobody has put it away yet, you should have 2 on the dock. The instant I scan a 2 location to put it away to, that dock depletes. And then you have the actual 3 locations where the product is in. You'll notice that as I'm scrolling over these, it tells me what my total on hand in the system is currently and what my bin quantity is currently in the system. But it tells you a 0 for count because you have not entered an account for that location yet. So if I were to make an adjustment and say I found 2 more than I originally had, great. I go to my EQN Wall 01, the system says I have 8, but I'm going to count it, and you know what? I find 10. Please notice that right now our total is 10, because that's our quantity of dock, ship, and transfer out added in. Now I enter in 10, I counted it, my total is 20. If I hit F1 bins, you now see we have a count here. Great. I'm going to go to my next one. Say, you know what? I found 2 in here. Great. Now my new total is 22. Again, my original on hand was 74. I come down here, and again, this is the last bin, and I go, you know what? There's 55 in here. I count 55. Now I have 77. I go ahead and hit F9 to update. This makes this value live. Once I do this, if I go and look at my product, I go to my analysis, you'll see my on-hand is 77, and if I go to my transactions tab, you'll see that originally we had 74. We received in 2, we went from 72 to 74. Then, on 130, user DDI did an RF product count, meaning an RF inventory adjustment, and brought it to 77 as my new on-hand. The reason why we have a source of RF product count is because you can make adjustments on the gun, or you can make adjustments in Inform. If you make an adjustment in Inform, this is a different source. This way you know if somebody is making adjustments in the system or if somebody is making adjustments on the gun. So again, if I want to do an adjustment, I scan my product. Any pre-populated system bins, like my dock, which has 6, my ship, which has 6, so 6 and 6 is 12, and my transfer out, which has 3. So 6 and 6 is 12, 12 and 3 is 15. So by default, we have that 15 total. Again, I go to F1 bin and I count all the locations I have. For example, this bin location has -7. That can't be. Can't have negative locations in a bin. So you know what? I'm going to come in here and say I counted 0. Go to my next bin. Go to my WH0319AA. The system tells me I have 112, but you know what? I counted 113. Now my new on hand is 128. I hit F9 update. If I go look at my product, we now see that my old on hand was 120, but I actually have 128 because that is what user DDI has updated this with. Any questions about the adjustment on the gun? Okay, so let me show you how to also do an inventory adjustment in the system. So if I go to inventory and go to inventory adjustment, I have to enter in my initials. I have to enter in what warehouse I'm doing this adjustment for. You'll notice we have adjusted and physical. When you do this on the gun, you are doing a physical adjustment. So I would go to add line item, I would type in the product I'm adjusting, and I would enter in my new on hand. So instead of 128, I have 120. When I do this and I hit save, the system goes, your bins don't match up. So you're telling me I have 120, but my bins are 128. Where am I removing those 8 from? So I'm going to say, you know what? I have 105 in this location actually. When I hit tab, my total on the bottom must match the quantity that I'm stating. Once I hit OK, it's now going to change my on hand to 120. It's going to let me know I did a physical count, and notice that there is a difference between RF product count and the source for this one. You can also, and this is again only if you're doing it in the front end of the system, you can go ahead and do an adjusted. An adjusted is a little bit unique because the way this works is I could come in here, take an item and say, you know what, I found 2. The system will update your on hand to 122. And then when you hit save, again, you'll have to tell the system what location you found that extra 2 in. So now instead of 105, notice right now that my quantity is 122, but my bin total is 120. That's not right. So I'm going to make this 107. Now my quantity matches my bin quantity. I hit OK. This gets updated, and if I look at my product, we see now there was an adjustment, not a physical update, but an adjustment update that was done by user DDI. And again, because it was done in the front end of the system, it does not have this RF product count. Any questions about inventory adjustments? Okay. This wraps up our training for today. At this point, we've kind of gone across all of the modules and options that we kind of have that you guys will be using. We will touch back on physical inventory. Kathy will be reaching out to you guys in regards to how you do your cycle counts because you don't actually do physical inventories. But at this time, we essentially are finished with the training. So thank you guys again for attending. I did record this entire training, so I will be